Hey gang, and welcome back. Just a reminder, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com. You'll get 10% off orders over $10 and help with the channel at the same time. Hey gang, and welcome back. This week I am playing Harry's Lin Sivvi deck, and I keep an opening hand with Wasteland, Mind's Eye, Secluded Steppe, Plains, Scroll Rack, Arcane Lighthouse, and Cage Sun. Sean is playing his Nazahn deck and keeps a hand with Teferi's Protection, Recollect, Stoneforge Mystic, Sun Titan, Myriad Landscape, Ghost Quarter, and a Forest. Dale is playing Harry's Phage deck and keeps a hand with Endless Whispers, 2 Swamps, Swiftfoot Boots, Diabolic Revelation, Vampiric Tutor, and Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Lastly, Harry is playing his Titania deck and keeps 3 Snow-Covered Forests, Exploration, Living Plane, Natural Balance, and Sylvan Library. Sean wins the die roll and starts us off. Sean plays Myriad Landscape, which comes into play tapped, and passes. I play a Plains and pass to Dale. Dale plays a Swamp. Harry plays a Snow-Covered Forest and casts Exploration, playing a second Snow-Covered Forest. Sean plays a Plains and casts Stoneforge Mystic, grabbing Conqueror's Flail. At the end of Sean's turn, I cycle the Secluded Steppe to draw a card. For my turn, I play a Wasteland and pass. Dale plays a Swamp and casts Swiftfoot Boots. Harry plays 2 Snow-Covered Forests and casts Sylvan Library before passing. Sean plays a Forest and attacks Harry for 1. He then cracks the Myriad Landscape and passes. I play a Plains and cast Scroll Rack before passing to Dale. Dale unfortunately has no lands for turn and passes. Harry activates the library to look at 2 more cards and takes 4 to keep 1 extra. Harry plays a Misty Rainforest, cracking it to find a Snow-Covered Forest. Harry then casts his general, Titania, and returns the Misty to the field, and once again cracks it to find a Snow-Covered Forest and gets an elemental token. Sean plays a Forest and casts Conqueror's Flail. At the end of Sean's turn, I activate Scroll Rack, setting aside 5 and drawing 5 and putting the original 5 on top. I play Nykthos Shrine to Nyx on my turn and cast Sword of the Animus before passing. Dale draws and plays a Swamp before passing to Harry. Harry activates the library once more, but doesn't keep any extra cards. He decides not to attack anyone and try and buy some good faith, and in his second main phase, he casts Life Legacy and sacrifices his token to draw 5 cards. Harry then plays Scrying Sheets and Havenwood Battleground for his lands before casting Wild Growth on a Forest and passing. Sean plays a Ghost Quarter for turn and casts Stonehaven Outfitter. Sean then casts Anointed Procession and passes turn. For my turn, I reveal Entreat the Angels and use the Miracle trigger to cast it for 2 angels. I then play Arcane Lighthouse and pass to Dale. Dale casts Never during his first main phase, killing Sean's Stoneforge Mystic, and passes. At the end of Dale's turn, Harry activates Scrying Sheets. Harry takes 4 damage to keep an extra card from his library trigger and plays a Snow-Covered Forest. Harry then casts Worldbreaker, whose on-cast trigger exiles Sean's Anointed Procession, and passes turn. Sean casts Imposing Sovereign during his first main phase, and casts Ronus before passing to me. For my turn, I equip one of my angels with the Sword of the Animist, and swing both at Harry, forgetting that Worldbreaker has reach. I decide to cast Path to Exile on the Eldrazi before moving to declare Blocker Step, and Harry responds by Beast Withining his own creature. I then get to find my Plains, albeit a bit late, and Harry takes 9. Dale is really struggling this game to draw any lands, and moving to his end step, he is forced to discard Decree of Pain. Harry pays another 4 life to keep an extra card, playing Mosswork Bridge to hide away a card. Harry then pays to bring back Worldbreaker, sacrificing the forest he tapped, and gets a token. He then recasts Worldbreaker and exiles my Sword of the Animist. With nothing else, Harry passes. Sean casts Tajnar Swordsmith, paying 1 from its triggered ability to find Bloodforged Battle Axe, and pays 1 to cast it. Dale casts Hero's Downfall at the end of Sean's turn to kill Harry's Worldbreaker and clear the way for my angels. For my turn, I cast Mind Stone during my first main phase and move to combat. Once again, I swing my angels at Harry, and in my second main phase, I Wasteland Harry's Mosswork Bridge because I'm more concerned with what he's got tucked underneath it than a 5/3 elemental. He doesn't have to, but Harry nicely reveals that he has Nevinyrral's Disc hidden away. I then cast Thalia Heretic Thar, which Sean nicely reminds Harry and I that our creatures come into play tapped thanks to his Imposing Sovereign, but this only happens on Dale's turn. Dale finally finds his 4th land and plays it before passing. Harry doesn't take any extra damage this turn, and sacrificing the Havenwood to gain 2 mana and a 5/3 elemental which comes into play tapped, casts Shamanic Revelations, gaining 16 life and drawing 5 cards. Harry then plays Tectonic Edge and Ghost Quarter and casts Oblivion Stone. Moving to combat, Harry nudges me for 5 damage with one of his elementals. For Sean's turn, he equips Conqueror's Flail onto the Stonehaven Outfitter. He then puts the axe onto the Outfitter, and moving to combat, swings it at Dale for 7. This gets Sean an axe token, which he equips onto Ronus during his second main phase. I draw what I apparently considered at the time to be the spiciest of draws thanks to the audio, and cast a Ketra the True during my first main phase. As it's worked so well for me in the past, and Dale promises to use a board up on his next turn, I swing my 2 angels at Harry for 8. Dale casts Vampiric Tutor at the end of my turn, and he reveals what he tutors for, which I can't decide if it's a bold or silly move, and shows the table Liliana of the Dark Realms. Dale casts his newly found Liliana during his first main phase, upticking her to find a swamp, which he plays. He doesn't have a spell for it, but he does cast Destroy Andrew's Trust in Dale by casting the Planeswalker instead of a board wipe. Harry also decides to use this time to put a fake counter on Titania. Harry plays a snow-covered forest during his first main phase and pays 3 mana, sacrificing the forest he tapped to bring back the Worldbreaker to his hand. Moving to Wombat Combat, Harry swings 15 points of damage at me, which I take. Harry then discards Living Plane at the end of turn and passes to Sean. Sean plays a forest first turn and swings the Outfitter and Ronus at Harry. Harry activates his Oblivion Stone to wipe the board, and Sean casts Teferi's Protection to save his board. Although it doesn't end his turn, Sean's entire board is phased out, which effectively is the same thing. For my turn, I play Throne of the High City for my land for turn, and pass to Dale. Dale plays a Swamp and casts Diabolic Revelations, where X is 2. With nothing else, he passes to Harry. Harry plays a Snow-Covered Forest, and passes turn. Sean's untapped step has all of his things phasing back in, and he casts Sculpting Steel during his first main phase as a copy of the Conqueror's Flail. He equips the copy onto the Imposing Sovereign, and moving to combat, he swings Ronus, the Outfitter, and the Sovereign at Harry. Harry Ghost Quarters one of his own forests to create 2 elemental tokens, forgetting about the Imposing Sovereign. We quickly realize his tokens should come into play tap, and he has no choice but to block Ronus with Titania to keep himself alive. Sean still gets in for 12 damage, and gets a token copy of his axe. He equips it onto his Tajnar Swordsmith during his second main phase, and passes to me. At the end of Sean's turn, I make a warrior token with a Ketra. I play Tectonic Edge for my land for turn, and swing my warrior token at Harry for 1. Dale casts Magus the Coffers during his first main phase, and follows up with an Expedition map before passing to Harry. Harry casts Wave of Vitriol during his first main phase, and I float all the mana I can from my non-basics. We then lose all of our artifacts, enchantments, and non-basic lands to find that many basic lands, and put them onto the battlefield tapped. Harry then passes turn, and before we swap phases, I use the floating mana and 1 white to create another warrior token. I don't put it into play tapped, which frankly should just be a game loss for me. Sean casts Sun Titan during his first main phase, and surprisingly enough, returns the Conqueror's Flail and not the Battle Axe to the field. He equips it onto the Outfitter and swings Ronus into Harry, who chumps with an elemental token. Sean then passes to me. For my turn, I cast Sun Titan as well, and once again I forget about the darn Imposing Sovereign because I'm bad at this game. I bring back Thalia, and no surprise, forget to tap her as well. Moving to combat, I swing a Ketra at Sean and the warriors at Harry. Harry chumps one of the warriors with an elemental token, and Sean catches my misplay by reminding me to tap my stuff. Sean then blocks a Ketra with his Tajnar Swordsmith, and with nothing else, I pass to Dale. Dale plays Bajuka Bog, targeting Sean. He then casts Ruinous Path, taking out Sean's Sun Titan. He moves to activate the Magus, generating 7 black mana, and Dale casts Toxic Deluge, paying 5 life. Dale then follows up with a Grey Merchant of Asphodel, draining the table for 2 and killing Harry. Sean casts Nazahn on his turn, and he finds the Hammer of Nazahn, putting it onto the field and equipping it to his commander. Sean then equips the Flail onto Nazahn and passes turn. For my turn, I move straight to combat, swinging the Sun Titan at Dale, who chumps with his Grey Merchant of Asphodel. I bring back Mind Stone, and in my second main phase, I cast Eldrazi Displacer. Dale casts Cryptcast for his turn, and with access to twice as much mana, he casts Endless Whispers and uses the Extort trigger to drain Sean and I for 1. For Sean's turn, he casts Swiftfoot Boots and equips them onto his commander. I decide to not flicker him in response, hoping he'll swing at Dale. Sean then casts Soul's Majesty, drawing 9 cards and playing a Plains. Sean moves to combat, swinging Nazahn at Dale. Nazahn's ability triggers, letting Sean tap down on Dale's Cryptcast, and Dale takes 9 commander damage. Sean discards down to 7 at the end of his turn, and I decide to flicker Sun Titan with the Eldrazi Displacer, bringing back Nykthos. I then do it again, as Nykthos is untapped and I have the mana for it, and bring back Thalia. I play Strip Mine for my land for turn, and moving to combat, I swing 9 points of damage into Dale, and 9 points of damage at Sean. This triggers Sun Titan, and he brings back Scroll Rack. Harry demands I play Lin Sivvi, and since it's his deck, he knows what he's talking about, I take his advice. Dale draws a card and passes turn. Sean plays a Plains, and casts Darksteel Mutation, targeting the Eldrazi Displacer. I flicker the Sun Titan once, returning Arcane Lighthouse, and the aura resolves. Sean then casts Nylea, and moving to combat, Sean swings Nazahn at me, using Nazahn triggers to tap down Lin Sivvi. I activate Nykthos at the end of the Declare Attack step, generating enough mana to create 2 warrior tokens. I block with 1, not realizing that Nazahn has trample from Nylea, and take 8 commander damage. During his second main phase, Sean casts Return to Dust, exiling Endless Whispers and Scroll Rack. For my turn, I move straight to combat and declare that I'm swinging my Sun Titan at Dale and a Ketra and Thalia at Sean. Dale responds to the Sun Titan trigger by killing it with Slaughter Pact, which he also extorts. I still get to use Sun Titan's return trigger, and I bring back Throne of the High City. Dale takes no damage, and Sean takes 9. For Dale's turn, he pays the Slaughter Pact cost during his upkeep, sadly, and draws for his turn before casting Beseech the Queen in his main phase. Dale reviews Mutilate and casts it. I activate Lin Sivvi to search for an answer, and Mirror Entity's the hero we need. With enough mana to pump all of my creatures to be 9/9s, Dale sees the writing on the wall and scoops it up, but Sean wants to battle on. Sean's in a bit of a tough spot as Thalia shuts down a lot of his options, so he decides to cast Mirage Mirror before playing his own Thalia, Heretic Cathar. For my turn, I untap and go straight to combat, swinging everything but my warrior token and a bug at Sean. Sean casts Heroic Intervention, making his creatures essentially untouchable, and has his Mirage Mirror become a copy of the Mirror Entity. Realizing he can't prevent enough damage to himself without losing, Sean activates the Mirror Entity for 0 and takes all the damage. I then activate Nykthos and dump all of my mana into the Mirror Entity, making my creatures huge and finishing out the game. Game review time. So a lot of this game revolved around luck. Sean was lucky to have Teferi's Protection in his hand to save him from Harry's Oblivion Stone. I was fortunate enough to be able to activate Lin Sivvi to find Mirror Entity to save myself from the Mutilate from Dale. And Harry was almost able to bring himself back in thanks to Shamanic Revelations, gaining him a bunch of life. Lin Sivvi is certainly an interesting deck. I like that it's kind of tribal in the fact that you have to play Rebels, but it's kind of odd because a lot of the Rebels aren't very good. I would say that in this game the best Rebel that I was able to play was Mirror Entity, as it saved my board and allowed me to kill Sean quite easily. Harry's Titania deck has a lot more expensive cards in it than mine does, and you can really see a difference in how explosive it is from the get-go. She's probably my favorite mono-green commander nowadays, and I really like the fact that she wants you to ramp, but at the same time be able to destroy that ramp that you were able to generate. Dale seems to have this hit or miss thing where he either wins a game or he dirtles and dies. Unfortunately for this game, it was the latter. I think Sean's Nazahn deck is probably my second equipment-based Voltron deck, next to Temet. Having a tutor effect in your command zone, even if it costs 6, is a very powerful effect, but Temet does win out by giving your creatures unblockable and +1/+1 and coming out super early. But honestly, the real MVP of Sean's deck is Bloodforged Battle Axe. I love that card, I think it's hilarious and janky and so much fun. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also find me on Twitter at MTGMudsta, at Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in part by support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below or in the About section. As always, thank you guys for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.